Your Excellencies, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. The COVID-19 pandemic is an unprecedented global crisis that has been met with an unprecedented global response. Research and development have played a central role. Since January, WHO has been working with thousands of researchers all over the world to accelerate and track vaccine development, from developing animal models to clinical trial designs and everything in between. We have also developed diagnostics that are being used all over the world. And we're coordinating a global trial on the safety and efficacy of 4 therapeutics against COVID-19. The world needs these tools, and it needs them fast. Past experience has taught us that even when tools are available, they have not been equally available to all. We cannot allow that to happen. Today, WHO is proud to be uniting with many partners to launch the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator, or the ACT Accelerator. This is a landmark collaboration to accelerate the development, production, and equitable distribution of vaccines, diagnostics, and therapeutics for COVID-19. Our shared commitment is to ensure all people have access to all the tools to defeat COVID-19. The ACT Accelerator brings together the combined power of several organizations to work with speed and scale. Each of us are doing great work, but we cannot work alone. We're coming together to work in new ways to identify challenges and solutions together. I'm especially grateful to President Emmanuel Macron, President Ursula von der Leyen, and Bill and Melinda Gates for their leadership and partnership in co-hosting this ACT Accelerator launch. We're also grateful for the support of many world leaders who you will hear from today. And I would especially like to thank Sir Andrew Whitty and Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala for agreeing to act as a special envoys for the ACT Accelerator. We're facing a common threat, which we can only defeat with a common approach. I would now like to invite other co-hosts to speak, beginning with His Excellency, President Emmanuel Macron. Monsieur le Président, you have the floor.
Thank you, my friend. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear Director General. Thank you very much to my friends, dear heads of state and government, and dear Director General once again of the WHO. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to be here, even though this is in a virtual conference, but I'm in any case very pleased to be with you today. We are here to make an appeal to action and therefore establish this ACT Accelerator to fight against COVID-19. And this is why we are gathered all here together. I would also like to pay tribute to the healthcare workers who are fighting against COVID-19 every single day, and we must pay tribute to them, as well as to the researchers that are working around the world to tackle COVID-19, either from the public sector or the private sector. And we would also like to thank the humanitarian sector, those from the United Nations or from the NGOs that are working on the ground very actively against this virus and all of its negative consequences. Together, we stand. We have the international community alongside the WHO, as well as all international health actors, regional organizations, civil society organizations. They are working together. They are uniting their forces in an unprecedented partnership to work effectively against COVID-19. Around the table, we have the World Health Organization, who will be at the helm of the coordination. We also have Gavi, UNITAID, Wellcome Trust. We have the World Bank, who are also working with us. We have the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, private sector actors, as well as actors from the pharmaceutical sector. They are all gathered together, and this is absolutely unprecedented. I would just like to speak to certain aspects that are extremely important in this activity. There are 4 pillars that we have to succeed. So first of all is our collective effectiveness to help with healthcare systems. I see my friend Mr. Ramos at this conference. We had an opportunity to speak about his role and leadership in South Africa already in a previous conference. So if we want to defeat this illness, we must support all healthcare systems, especially primary healthcare systems, to fight against all pandemics, especially COVID-19. Everything that we will be able to do against COVID-19 will not be effective if we don't have the support, this backing of all of these actors, of the WHO and all of the others that I already quoted. We must construct bridges between countries, and we cannot have any inequalities in our healthcare system. So we have to bridge these gaps. I think that this act will help the most vulnerable and will help them bolster their healthcare systems. And we will also come to aid to the most vulnerable, the most deprived in our country. And this will also help reinforce the healthcare systems. This is absolutely indispensable. The second pillar of our initiative are diagnostic tests. The WHO has already mentioned this a few weeks ago. There is this challenge that exists in our countries, which is to develop these screening tests. They need to be accessible all over the world, especially in countries that are the most fragile, the most vulnerable ones. So on that particular topic, this is something that this initiative will be working on, and there is going to be a lot of knowledge and expertise that will be mobilized, especially, for example, civil society organizations. We will be working with the most vulnerable communities on this aspect. The third pillar will be access to treatment. There are many of our researchers and healthcare personnel that are working, that are coordinating their efforts in Europe and around the world to be able to achieve treatments. There are multiple assays that are being developed at the moment to fight against the action of the virus, to react to take action against inflammatory reactions, to better resist when there are situations that arise in ERs around the world. We need to accelerate these treatments. We need to develop treatments. So this is absolutely essential for this initiative. The fourth pillar, of course, is vaccines. We are awaiting these vaccines, and what we are trying to do is to be able to make sure that there is less time necessary for the development of this type of vaccine. We are investing in many different solutions to try to develop these types of vaccines. We are trying to speed up efforts. We are investing with more money, with more resources. More people are becoming involved. We are trying to manufacture this vaccine as quickly as possible for it to be as effective as possible. We are also having an effect on space. And here, what I mean is that a vaccine will be developed in a certain country, of course, by a certain pharmaceutical group, but we need to make sure that it is rendered accessible to everybody around the world. Therefore, I think that this initiative that is spearheaded by all of us, we must make sure that this vaccine is available to all of our populations around the world, to make sure that we come back to our normal lives as soon as possible. I know that scientists will be able to tell us about when this vaccine will be available. We know that it is going to be very difficult to ramp up the development of this vaccine. Some people are saying that perhaps by the end of the year, some others are saying 18 months is a reasonable timeline, but in any case, we need to speed this up. And I'm sure that if we mobilize all our efforts and use all our resources, we will be able to do so. We are going to mobilize all countries of the G7, the G20, for them to back this initiative. I hope that we will be able to reconcile this initiative with China and the US. So I hope that both of these countries will be able to fight against COVID-19 by developing together a vaccine. There should not be any divisions between countries. We need to join forces. On the 4th of May, we have a meeting with the European Union to speak about this very clear plan of action where everybody is united, and we are going to be talking about fundraising. We hope that we will maintain its collective momentum to fight against future pandemics as well. What we are working on now is extremely important. We must be successful. We must unite our forces. And my dream is that for the future, we are able to capitalize on that energy, on that momentum to fight against tuberculosis, malaria, HIV, and all sorts of other pandemics that affected the most vulnerable. And I think that, therefore, altogether we will go further and we will be able to vanquish this disease. And I would like to thank, once again, Dr. Tedros. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank all members of the private sector and all others to make sure that we work together and we fight against and defeat COVID-19. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, President Macron. Merci beaucoup. And our other co-host is the European Commission, and I call upon Dr. Ursula von der Leyen to make her speech. Dr. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission. You have the floor, Madam.
Out of sharing the screen today with our partners worldwide to deliver a message of hope. Hope that we can defeat coronavirus together and that we can go back to our normal lives sooner rather than later. And I warmly welcome today's call for global action, and we are ready to respond. Indeed, in just 10 days, on the 4th of May, we will launch a global pledging effort. On that day, we will also announce next milestones of a global campaign. This campaign is to kick off an ongoing rolling replenishment. The aim is to raise 7.5 billion euros to ramp up work on prevention, diagnostics, and treatment. And this is a first step only, but more will be needed in the future. Because beating coronavirus will require sustained actions on many fronts. We need to develop a vaccine. We need to produce it and to deploy it in every single corner of the world and make it available at affordable prices. This vaccine will be our universal common good. And I want to invite everyone, governments, business leaders, philanthropists, artists, and citizens to raise awareness about the pledging effort and to help us create a united front against coronavirus. The European Union will spare no effort to help the world come together against coronavirus. Because united, we will make history with a global response to the global pandemic.
Thank you so much, Dr. President von der Leyen. United, we will defeat this pandemic, this virus. Now the next speaker will be the co-chair of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Mrs. Melinda Gates. You have the floor. Okay, I think we have a technical problem. We will come back again to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and I will proceed to the next speakers. And the next speaker will be His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. This launch brings together world leaders, the private sector, scientific and humanitarian actors and other partners to promote health, keep the world safe, and advance the public good. Human health is the quintessential global public good. And today we face a global public enemy like no other. In an interconnected world, none of us is safe until all of us are safe. COVID-19 respects no borders. COVID-19 anywhere is a threat to people everywhere. The world needs the development, production, and equitable delivery of safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine, therapeutics, and diagnostics. Not a vaccine or treatments for one country or one region or one half of the world, but a vaccine and treatment that are affordable, safe, effectively, easily administered, and universally available for everyone, everywhere. A world free of COVID-19 requires the most massive public health effort in history. Data must be shared, production capacity prepared, resources mobilized, communities engaged, and politics set aside. I know we can do it. I know we can put people first. These new tools must be a very clear and essential example of a global public good. For too long, we have undervalued and underinvested in global public goods, a clean environment, cybersecurity, peace, and the list goes on. So let this be one vital lesson of this pandemic, the need for new urgency in support of global public goods and universal health coverage. We are in the fight of our lives, we are in it together, and we will come out of it stronger together. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Secretary General. Thank you so much for your leadership. And now I move to my own continent, Africa, and I would like to invite His Excellency, President Cyril Ramaphosa, President of the Republic of South Africa, and the Chairperson of the African Union. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros. I take this opportunity to congratulate the World Health Organization on the launch of this landmark global collaboration that brings together world leaders, health scientists, and business leaders. And I wish to commend the WHO for the excellent stewardship in the fight against COVID-19, and also want to single you out for the leadership that you are providing, Dr. Tedros. We are delighted with the work that you continue to do, and we want to pledge our support. The severe consequences of this pandemic will be experienced by all countries around the world for some time to come. I appreciate the timely launch of this collaboration, as now more than ever, the world needs solidarity and cooperation to mobilize and guide all efforts and drive delivery towards equitable access to new COVID-19 diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines. The WHO has been instrumental in supporting African governments with early detection of the pandemic, the training of health workers on the continent, and also in strengthening surveillance in communities, including working with a network of experts to address the containment and prevention of the pandemic. Many of us will know that Africa is extremely vulnerable to the ravages of this virus and is in need of every possible support and assistance. As Africa, we are pleased to be part of the global effort that we are all involved in to tackle this pandemic. For For its part, the African Union is handling the epidemic through its Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which is guiding the continent, working together with the WHO. We have also initiated a COVID-19 response fund to direct resources to bolster the continent's response. So for us, it is really a joy to be part of this effort to raise resources in order for all of us to get engaged in fighting against this pandemic. And to date, a number of countries on the continent have contributed money towards this effort. All our efforts complement each other. We see this launch as an important milestone to galvanize global support and to help accelerate the work that the WHO is doing. I want to conclude by saying Africa stands ready to provide the necessary support to the work that is being done and to this effort and to the WHO and to its leadership in Dr. Tedros. So I take the opportunity now to call upon the international community for the sake of all humanity to continue to support in fighting against this invincible enemy. So we're really delighted to be part of this collaboration, and thank you very much for making us part of this. Thank you, Tedros. Thank you very much, President Macron. Thank you very much to the Secretary General of the UN as well.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you, my brother. And now I would like to invite Her Excellency, Mrs. Angela Merkel, Chancellor of the Federal Republic of Germany. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
We're having some technical issues. Can we just invite anyone who may be unmuted to mute?
Yes.
Thank you.
Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, also guten Tag und guten Nachmittag, guten Abend, guten Morgen.
Good afternoon, good evening for others. I'm very pleased to be with you this afternoon. I'm very happy to be able to participate in this conference that is of such great importance. I would like to remind you that this conference is a preparatory conference for the 4th of May, and this is a preparatory conference to fight against a common enemy, of course, COVID-19. And I'm just so pleased to see that the World Health Organization is playing its leadership role here. All actors at the international level in healthcare are all working together, working side by side, and of course, are keeping in mind SDG number 3. And I'm very pleased to see all these different initiatives that have been taken up. We will only be able to succeed if we unite our forces and if we work together in close cooperation. In Germany, we are ready to support as vigorously as possible all political initiatives as well as initiatives in other areas. What is essential, and of course we are all aware of this, is that we have to live with this pandemic, but we also have to deploy all our efforts to be able to develop a vaccine, as well as improve diagnostic tools and treatments. I have listened attentively to the Secretary General of the UN. This is a public health good for all of humanity. We must therefore be able to manufacture this vaccine and distribute it, roll it out to all regions around the world. Once we will have developed such a vaccine, we will have made it an incredible step forward, and I think that the conference on the 4th of May will be extremely important in this area. There are a certain number of shortcomings. Of course, we need to mobilize more financial resources, whether these are public resources or private financial resources. We will have to, of course, close this gap of 8 billion euros for preparing this our countries to states of health emergencies. We will have to develop new methods, try new approaches, notably to, for example, ramp up production capacities in many different countries around the world. We know, for instance, that there are countries in which the virus has been particularly virulent. We know that also the President of the African Union already mentioned this, and we have committed ourselves in favor of Africa, to help Africa, but also to help other countries around the world that are just as important. I'm very encouraged to see that we are having this meeting on the 4th of May. Germany will support this meeting with our financial resources, and we hope that we will be able to mobilize all of these resources to achieve other objectives that are extremely important at the global level. And I would like to commend all of those who have been undertaking all of these efforts to make sure that we have this possibility of holding this conference on the 4th of May. I take this opportunity to thank President Emmanuel Macron of France, Dr. Tedros of the WHO, Ursula for the initiative that has been launched, and I am sure that with this initiative of the 4th of May, we will be able to move forward and make progress. Thank you.
Vielen Dank, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for your leadership. Now we move to Latin America, and I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Carlos Alvarado, President of the Republic of Costa Rica. Your Excellency, you have the floor, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros. Good afternoon y buenos días acá desde...
And a very good morning here in Costa Rica. Representing Costa Rica, for me, is an honor, and it's an honor to be witness to this initiative, and I'm delighted to support it very firmly, so that everybody around the world can have access to development and production of these tools, which is so vital for combating COVID-19. COVID-19 doesn't care if a country is large or small. It makes no distinction between rich, middle income and poor countries. Therefore, we need a global reaction. We mustn't make distinctions in the way in which we deal with this. We must show solidarity with each other. And we need to deal with this pandemic in a very humane way in this very decisive moment in our history. We fully support multilateralism in Costa Rica, and we need multilateralism more than ever. So it's an honor for me to participate in this conference, and hopefully in the future, vaccines, treatments, and diagnostic kits will be available for everybody all over the world. On the 23rd of March, we sent a communique to Dr. Tedros, launching a common initiative to build a pool, a patent pool, in order to make available this vital technology for supporting efforts to combat COVID-19 and making it available to everybody. We have moved forward with that project, and prior to the World Health Assembly, we'd like to share this with the world. So it's an honor to firmly support this ACT accelerator today. We need to bear in mind that this is an example. The people around the world are looking to our leaders for action. Now we are taking decisive steps, and this must be an example for other sectors, such as finance, in countries all over the world. Because this situation is putting a lot of stress on public finances all over the world. So thank you very much to the co-hosts who have launched this initiative. And I'd just like to say how Costa Rica supports you fully. And we sincerely hope that we can deal with this pandemic together with solidarity. Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros.
Muchas gracias, hermano.
Thank you very much, brother.
For your leadership, and thank you so much also for taking the initiative to send me the letter. And this is part of what we're doing now, and we're really proud of your initiative. And now we move into Italy, and I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Giuseppe Conte, President of the Council of Ministers of the Republic of Italy. Thank you. Grazie mille for joining, Your Excellency. The floor is yours.
Mr. Secretary General, Mr. Director General, dear friends, as you all know, Italy has been, since the beginning, at the front line of this fight against COVID-19. We have learned on our skin many lessons. First of all, that the virus has no borders. This is why we have immediately promoted international cooperation. Foreign Minister Di Maio has actively campaigned for an international vaccination alliance in an international fora, and we are grateful to the World Health Organization and other partners for having taken forward our appeal. We are proud to be part of this global alliance. I would like to dedicate its launch to those who lost their lives in the fight against COVID-19 and to those who are still struggling. A special thought goes to our true heroes, doctors, nurses, and health workers. Their sacrifice will not go in vain. While we are all still coping with the dramatic impact of the pandemic, there is one thing that we understand well. Finding and distributing the vaccine is the only way to win this battle. Let me commend the many researchers and institutions that are working to make this happen, showing that scientific progress is a shared wealth. As a leader, though, it's our responsibility to support their work by promoting good governance, transparency, mutual accountability, in order to ensure universal, equitable, and accelerated access to the vaccine and treatments. I'm confident that our alliance will grow in the spirit of effective multilateralism, putting together our best brains and resources in the interest of the entire mankind. The Italian government is sparing no efforts to protect its people and gradually restart its social and economic engine. Also, you can be sure that Italy will keep up to its tradition of global solidarity. We will stand by our partners in this common endeavor, and you can count on Italy. Together, we'll make it. Thank you very much.
Together we will make it. Thank you very much. Grazie mille, Your Excellency. Now, I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Moussa Faki Mohammed, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. Your Excellency and my brother Moussa, please, you have the floor. I think voice is not.
Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les chefs.
Your Excellencies, distinguished heads of state and government, Secretary General, Director General. 1.3 billion inhabitants are in a situation where health services are not always up to scratch, and Africa is doing everything it can to try to combat COVID-19. But we very much depend on cooperation, coordination, and collaboration. We are convinced that only through innovation and science will we win this battle against COVID-19. Innovation for the development of diagnostics, for the development of vaccines, and indeed treatments. The African continent is fully committed to work with all partners, states, private sector agencies, international, sub-regional organizations, research organizations, and civil society and NGOs. Innovation based on science will help us to combat and overcome COVID-19. Africa will participate and collaborate through its structures, and it will do everything it can to guarantee timely access and fair, equitable access to diagnostics and later vaccines and treatments. We need to overcome constraints of time and space, as President Macron said, and that's absolutely vital. Africa encourages everybody to do all they can to live up to this tremendous responsibility that we have, because the survival of the human race depends on this. The stakes are extremely high, and that's why we need to make such an effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you, my brother. Thank you for your leadership and for the continent-wide strategy that you're leading. Now we move into Saudi Arabia, and I would like to invite His Excellency, Mr. Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Jaddan, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, G20 Presidency. Your Excellency, you have the floor. Okay, I think we have a technical problem. Can you hear me, Your Excellency? Okay, we then move into the next program. The next 5 will be video messages from leaders, and we will replay the message from the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Ms. Melinda Gates. Please.
The moment we're living through right now is a reminder that we're all part of the same global community. As new diagnostics, treatments, and vaccines become available, we have a responsibility to get them out equitably with the understanding that all lives have equal value. COVID-19 knows no borders, and defeating it will require action and investment across sectors and countries. The collaboration we're seeing today, along with the commitments we make at the upcoming Global Response Summit, will help the world rise up to meet this big challenge.
Thank you, Melinda. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is co-hosting this launching event, and they're one of the co-leads of this effort. And now we move into a message from His Excellency, President Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, and Chairperson of the NEPAD Heads of State and Government Orientation Committee.
The COVID pandemic reminds us that global equity in health is absolutely critical. No one is safe unless we're all safe. Essential health technologies must be available wherever needed. We must deploy everything we know about international solidarity to fight COVID together. This is why the new global collaboration for new COVID-19 tools is so important. This coalition brings together 8 of the world's leading health and development organizations and philanthropies. By joining forces to accelerate the development of tests, vaccines, and treatments, we can end the pandemic sooner. Their commitment to ensuring equal access is the key. As the African Union's leader for domestic health financing, I wish to emphasize the importance of the upcoming pledging event. We have to be accountable to the citizens we serve and to each other. The global collaboration can count on Rwanda's active support.
Thank you. Then now His Excellency Mr. Muhyiddin Mohamed Yassin, Prime Minister of Malaysia and Chairperson of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC.
Good morning, my fellow heads of states and government, Madame Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, and WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus. I am honored to join this important global call. COVID-19 has impacted all of our lives and the global economy in ways never before experienced in living memory. The only way we can destroy this common invisible enemy of ours is through solidarity and cooperation. The world needs to come together to coordinate our efforts and expedite the development of effective tools to stop the spread of this disease. The role of the United Nations remains one of our strongest modalities to curb this pandemic in a manner that can ensure that the arsenals in this war that we are fighting can reach everyone, everywhere, in the shortest time possible. Never before has the clarion call to leave no one behind been more important than it is now. Malaysia therefore fully supports this landmark global collaboration to accelerate development and production of tools and vaccines and to assure equitable global access to new COVID-19 essential health technologies. Malaysia is fully committed to being part of this time-bound effort and to take on the manufacturing of some of these tools and vaccines as they become available. And I urge leaders across the globe, donors, the private sector, and the scientific community to support this important effort to win this war against COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we go back to Riyadh. I think we're reconnected. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Your Excellency, Mr. Mohammed bin Abdullah Al-Jadan, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the G20 President. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon and morning or evening, Your Excellencies. Let me begin by thanking the global health actors, Bill Melinda Gates Foundation, CB, Gavi, the Global Fund, UnitedAid, Wellcome Trust, the World Bank, and the WHO for launching this initiative. And I also wanted to thank the WHO for taking the effort in hosting this important event. I would like also to thank every head of state, every other participant who's with us today and making the time to support this initiative. We are still faced with an extraordinary uncertainty about the depth and duration of this health crisis. And the world counts on us to come together and cooperate to face this global challenge. The Saudi G20 presidency took the lead and worked with its partners and relevant organizations to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. The G20 will continue reinforcing the global cooperation on all fronts, and most importantly, in closing the immediate financing gap for the health sector. Today, the Saudi G20 presidency launched a page on its Saudi G20 website, the g20.org, to track contributions towards meeting the health financing gap of $8 billion as outlined by the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board. As of today, about $2 billion have been pledged, which leaves about $6 billion of remaining gap. Saudi Arabia has already pledged $500 million to the relevant international organizations in the global health to support the global efforts. This contribution will support emergency and preparedness response, developing and deploying diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccines, and contributing to ensuring sufficient supplies of protective equipment for health workers. It is critical to continue investing to accelerate development, production, and equitable global access to new COVID-19 essential health technologies. Therefore, we welcome and strongly support this initiative. But this is not enough. We might face a similar situation in the future, facing a virus that is deadly, disrupting the lives of people, and pushing nations to shut their borders and impose lockdowns. In order for us to deal with future pandemics effectively, we have to invest in strengthening our preparedness and response systems. That is why the G20 is working with the relevant international organizations to assess the gaps with a view to establishing a global initiative on pandemic preparedness and response, so that when we are, or our kids for that matter, face a similar situation in the future, we are better prepared to respond to it, saving people's lives, safeguarding their well-being, and it would be the smartest investment for us all to make today. Thank you very much.
Shukran jazilan, Your Excellency, and Ramadan Kareem. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you. And now we move into having our messages from our leaders, and the next will be Her Excellency Ms. Erna Solberg, Prime Minister of Norway.
People and governments across the world are now asking the same urgent questions. How can we test enough people for COVID-19 infection? How can we give better and more effective treatment to those who are ill? And how can we secure fair distribution of vaccines when available? With the launch of this global collaboration, we have a unique opportunity to answer these questions. By committing to working together, we can accelerate development and production of diagnostics, treatments, and vaccines against COVID-19. And we must commit to a system of fair global access, because as long as the virus is active somewhere, we are at risk everywhere. Norway supports this unique collaboration. I encourage all others to do the same. In the fight against the coronavirus, we must leave no one behind.
Tax Kaduha, Your Excellency. And next we will move to Spain, and His Excellency, a message from His Excellency, Mr. Pedro Sanchez, Prime Minister of Spain.
Hello, my name is Pedro Sanchez. I'm the Prime Minister of Spain. We are in the midst of an unprecedented crisis, but we have the chance to act decisively and come out stronger from it. As long as there are people infected anywhere in the world, none of us will be safe. I am committed, my country is committed to doing whatever it takes to avoid anything similar from happening again in my country, Spain, or anywhere else. We firmly believe that solidarity and multilateralism are the only way forward, and we have declared so publicly. Now it's the time to walk the talk, and today I believe we're taking a decisive step in the right direction. Spain, my country, is firmly committed to the leadership of the United Nations and to the central role of the World Health Organization in dealing with the global efforts to fight the pandemic and its impacts on people and prosperity. Going forward, we must strengthen the multilateral architecture and enable it to respond faster and more effectively. In order to counter COVID-19, we need vaccines, effective treatments, and fast and reliable tests. We need them soon. And most importantly, everybody needs them. Everybody needs them. It is imperative to develop the capacity to produce and distribute them at a scale and at affordable prices. They must be accessible to everyone and every country in the world. In the fight against COVID-19, no one should be left behind. We must move away from fragmented individual efforts towards a collaborative approach. The magnitude of investment needed, the risks attached, the fear from regulatory and market change are all real obstacles in the quest for a vaccine. No private company, no government, no country alone can escape them. Partnerships are the only solution. Today, we're calling for action. Together, we can find the tools needed to address the crisis faster and better. Spain, my country, stands with you. My dear friends, you can count on our full support. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Your Excellency. Now, a message from His Excellency, Mr. Dominic Raab, Secretary of State of Foreign Affairs and Commonwealth Affairs, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. I would like to use this opportunity to appreciate my friend, Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He has been very, very keen on this initiative from the start and following up even while he was still unwell. And I would like to express my great respect and appreciation for his commitment to this initiative. And I hope he is now proud that it has reached this level and the whole world is behind this initiative. Thank you, Boris. And please, next message.
Let me start by thanking the World Health Organization and Dr. Tedros for convening this event. The Prime Minister asked me to convey that today's announcements have his full support. Now, we all know that COVID-19 is the biggest global threat the world has faced in a generation. For our part, the UK is striving to tackle the effects of the virus at home, whilst at the same time galvanising international action to drive the development of and fair access to a vaccine. The UK is one of the biggest donors to the international response. We have already pledged £744 million, and that includes £250 million of UK aid for the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations to rapidly develop a coronavirus vaccine. We're supporting the University of Oxford and Imperial College London in their research to develop vaccines, contributing £42.5 million to support their work through clinical testing. And yesterday, the University of Oxford started phase 1 human safety trials. But as coronavirus has shown, in our interconnected world, diseases have no borders. And so it's only through coming together and collective solutions that we'll be able to defeat this virus. That's why the UK is proud to support the WHO's call to action. We welcome global health partners coming together to accelerate progress towards a vaccine. And we look forward to supporting the Global Coronavirus Response Summit on the 4th of May, which will drive forward our collective global effort to tackle coronavirus. It will ensure that desperately needed resources for research and development of new vaccines, therapeutics and diagnostics are made available so that we can overcome this disease. And we also look forward to working with Sir Andrew Whitty and Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala in their role as the new vaccine envoys. The UK will host the Global Vaccine Summit virtually on the 4th of June, where we need to fully fund Gavi and make sure Gavi's expertise and capacity are at the heart of our efforts to ensure equitable access for any vaccine. And just finally, I want to say the UK is proud to be standing side by side with our international partners in the fight against coronavirus. By working together, we can develop an affordable vaccine which is accessible to everyone who needs it as quickly as possible to end this pandemic once and for all.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now we move to our key partners. They have been waiting online, listening to our leaders from all over the world. And I will start with Dr. Seth Berkley, Chief Executive Officer, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, who has been working very hard to make this launching a reality. My brother, you have the floor. Seth.
Thank you, Dr. Tedros, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. COVID-19 is truly a global problem and requires a global solution. To do so, we need the best science globally and to bring those solutions to all people. That is why I am so glad to be working with all of my other sister organizations to try to accelerate COVID-19 tools. As you know, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, currently helps vaccinate nearly half the world's children as part of its mission to save lives, reduce poverty, and protect the world against the threat of epidemics. We need other tools, but you will have heard it said that without a vaccine, we will never defeat this pandemic. This is likely true. And what this means is that we need to devise and deliver a vaccine program to get billions of doses out at a speed and scale never before contemplated, let alone achieved, the most rapid vaccine deployment in history. Gavi has a unique role to play in this global collaboration. With over 2 decades of experience at introducing nearly 500 new vaccines, we can help identify and prioritize the most suitable vaccines to make this momentous task possible and to scale up manufacturing at risk so that we have adequate supplies. Lastly, the infrastructure we have helped put in place in the countries we support, right down to the community level, will help us ensure not one person gets left behind. This is what Gavi was set up to do. We are already helping countries deliver vital testing and other equipment and working to maintain life-saving immunizations even as countries face up to the pandemic. The expertise and the structures to defeat COVID-19 are in place. Today, in this esteemed company, I'm proud to say we now have the commitment. We look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth, and thank you, Gavi. Gavi and Global Fund actually have reprogrammed their funding from day one to fight COVID, and I would like to recognize that, and thank you so much for your leadership. Now I go to Peter Sands, the Executive Director, the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Peter, my friend, you have the floor.
Right. Thank you, Tedros. The Global Fund is committed to playing our part in this extraordinary and crucial partnership. Given our role, we're focusing primarily on the deployment of life-saving therapeutics and diagnostics, strengthening the vital systems of health to deliver the services, and also acting to mitigate the potentially disastrous knock-on impact on HIV, TB, malaria, diseases that kill 2.7 million people a year, and where we risk surrendering the tremendous gains we've made in recent years. In fighting COVID-19, in fact, we should learn the lessons from these earlier pandemics, from the fight we've had against HIV, TB, and malaria. First, we absolutely need new tools, and we need them fast. And we need to pursue vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics with equal vigor. A vaccine is the best answer, but it is not the only answer. It's worth reflecting that in the fight against HIV, TB, and malaria, despite huge efforts, we still don't have a vaccine against any of them. But with diagnostics, therapeutics, and prophylactics, we have demonstrated that we can achieve massive reductions in mortality, and many parts of the world have eliminated these diseases as threats to public health. Second, we must recognize that developing new tools is essential but not enough. We must make sure the people who need them get them. The lessons from AIDS must be learned. Too many millions died before antiretroviral medicines were made widely accessible, in large part through the creation of the Global Fund. In the fight against COVID-19, we must leave no one behind. Third, access to drugs is also not enough. These have to be delivered within a system of care. This takes money, infrastructure, capacities. For example, less than a third of the cost of the fight against AIDS, TB, and malaria is the cost of the biomedical tools. And finally, we need everyone engaged in this fight. And above all, we need the communities that are most affected. Defeating COVID-19 and mitigating the impact on HIV, TB, and malaria will need not just the engagement of these communities, but their leadership. To defeat COVID-19, we must unite to fight. We must unite to fight this common threat to humanity. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And now we move to our other key partner, sister organization. I prefer to say what Seth said, Chief Executive Officer of the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness and Innovation, CEPI, Dr. Richard Hatchett. Richard, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dr. Tedros. It's an honor to be here today to commit CEPI to work as part of the ACT Accelerator. The establishment of the ACT Accelerator is a watershed moment in the world coming together to develop a global exit strategy from the COVID-19 pandemic. The challenge we face in medical, humanitarian, and economic terms is unprecedented. We can meet it only by bringing together the combined strengths of governments, multilateral institutions, the private sector, and civil society. Everyone must have access to the tools and countermeasures, including vaccines, that we will develop through the ACT Accelerator. Science and policy must align in their commitment to equity and justice. We cannot meet the ongoing threat of COVID-19 one country at a time. COVID-19 anywhere is a threat everywhere. Today, there is hope. By bringing together the collective strengths, resources, and expertise of the institutions that will contribute to the ACT Accelerator, we can end this pandemic together. CEPI is proud to be part of this global collaborative effort.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much for your partnership. And now we move to UNITAID. The next speaker will be Executive Director of UNITAID, Mr. Philippe Donetin. Please, Philippe.
Thank you, Dr. Tedros, Your Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. These extraordinary times demand that the global health community stand in solidarity to find solutions to defeat and eliminate COVID-19. We also need to take care of people who were and still are under threat of other diseases. And just to pay attention, tomorrow is also the Malaria Day. But this global threat requires an unprecedented global response. The launch of the ACT accelerator today is key to strengthen and accelerate the world coordinated response against COVID-19. We all know that we need a vaccine, but also, as soon as possible, we need test and treat approach that requires new treatments, better and faster diagnostic. This solution needs to work everywhere, including countries with weak health system, and we need to ensure access to all those in need, including health and community workers. And we believe we, as part of the health community and with industry, we can make it. To succeed, we must rely on science and good R&D and ensure equitable and affordable access to this new tool. This is also the core activities of UNITE's mandate. This requires close collaboration with all partners in the response. This is the commitment we are making today. UNITED has already started and will actively collaborate alongside partners supporting an urgent and ambitious response to the COVID pandemic. It is the combat of our life, and we will do everything we can to succeed. Thanks for the head of states from the North and the South. Thanks for WHO to help all of us to make this happen for the people of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you, UNITAID. Now we move to this to IFRC, the International Red Cross and Red Crescent Movement, and the Secretary General, Mr. Jagan Chapagain. Please, Jagan, you have the floor.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by thanking Dr. Tedros for his leadership of WHO in this difficult time. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies is fully committed to this global collaboration, the ACT Accelerator. As the largest volunteer-based humanitarian network, we join the call to assure equitable global access to new COVID-19 essential health technologies, starting from the most vulnerable communities in difficult and fragile contexts. Developing technologies, be it vaccines, drugs, or diagnostics, is a very important first step. Ensuring fair allocation and timely delivery to all in need is the greatest challenge. The time to prioritize equity is now. This means putting the most disadvantaged communities at the center of our collective response to this pandemic. We in IFRC pay tribute to 14 million Red Cross Red Crescent volunteers and all other volunteers for their heroic work at the community level in more than 192 countries. And we offer this network in support of this global effort to ensure that no one is left behind in this humanitarian crisis. The power of our humanity is and will be measured by how we collectively protect the weakest among us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagan. Thank you, IFRC. Now I'd like to invite my brother, Sir Dr. Jeremy Farah, Director, Wellcome Trust. Jeremy, you have the floor.
Dr. Tedros, Your Excellencies and colleagues from around the world, thank you very much for bringing us together. Amidst the horror of this pandemic, this partnership does offer us our greatest hope, and also by bringing everybody together, the greatest chance to deliver. The whole world is affected, and the whole world must come together to find an equitable way through this. We must leave no one behind, as we've heard repeatedly today. Physical distancing, testing, isolation, and the best clinical care are absolutely crucial now. But this is now a human endemic infection. It will not disappear. This is not SARS. The only true exit strategy is through science and the manufacturing of that science and the equitable distribution to the world to make sure everybody receives it independent of their ability to pay. And we do need all. We need diagnostics, we need treatment, and we need vaccines. And we have to have the capacity to deliver them, not just make them. This is what this unprecedented partnership can, and this is what this unprecedented partnership will deliver. Thank you to the inspirational comments and support from all the world leaders, to the WHO, to the global agencies, to citizens and to philanthropy, and also to the private sector who have come together under the coordination of the WHO in an unprecedented way to address an unprecedented crisis. A chance to end this pandemic through multilateralism, and out of this pandemic and out of this crisis, the chance to actually forge a better world which is more equitable and which commits to public health. That is the prize of our time. Yes, for COVID, but actually beyond COVID to the whole of public health. And it's a question of social justice and equity. It's a question of the sort of world that we want to live in. Thank you, Dr. Tedros. Thank you to yourself, the great leadership through this, but also thank you to your great team alongside you who have made this happen. And it has not been always easy. And a pay tribute to all the healthcare workers all over the world who are putting their lives at risk so that all of us can be that little bit safer. The hard work starts now, and nobody should be under any illusion this is going to be incredibly hard work. But together we can, together we will, and together we must. Dr. Tedros, thank you very much for your leadership.
Thank you, Jeremy. I fully agree. Together. And I also would like to borrow your word, a better world out of this difficult situation. Thank you so much for reminding us that. You have heard from our political leaders, our agency leaders, and now the next group will be the business leaders. We don't believe that this initiative will succeed without the private sector. So I have colleagues who will be speaking, representing the private sector. The private sector is central to the success of this initiative. And I would like to invite Mr. Thomas Coney, Ambassador Thomas Coney, Director General, International Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers, IFPMA. You have the floor, Thomas.
Now I'm unmuted. Thank you, Dr. Tedros. The biopharmaceutical industry is acutely aware of the enormous responsibility we have to patients and society to engage in unprecedented levels of collaboration to find a solution to COVID-19. We stand ready to bring to this partnership our unique knowledge and expertise in the discovery and development of medicines and vaccines, as well as our experience in building manufacturing capacity and distribution networks. Today, scientists in the public and private sector hold the keys to our common goal, the swift end of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are proud to be part of this landmark global partnership and are fully committed to its goal to accelerate development, production, and equitable global access to safe, effective, and affordable COVID-19 therapeutics and vaccines. In the fight against COVID-19, we must ensure that no one is left behind. We will only succeed in this journey together. Thank you, Dr. Tedros.
Thank you so much, Thomas. And now we move to another colleague, Ms. Hanan Subol, Chair, the International Generic and Biosimilar Medicines Association. Madam, you have the floor.
Tedros, Your Excellency, alongside the need for the novel treatments to combat COVID-19, there is a tremendous need for existing medicines to treat infected patients. The global generic and biosimilar medicines industry, IGBA, is living up to its vision to improve access to those cost-effective quality medicines worldwide. We call on the global community and political leaders to support this landmark collaboration to ensure that every single patient around the globe is treated. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed. And now the next speaker will be the President of the Developing Countries Vaccine Manufacturers Network, Mr. Sai Prasad. I think if you can unmute probably.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Tedros. We, the Developing Country Vaccine Manufacturers Network, hereby express our steadfast commitment to support COVAX's objectives. Our network of manufacturers supply more than 3 billion doses of vaccines in 170 countries every year. Our commitment to COVID access is expressed in 3 distinct ways. First, many companies in our network are developing vaccines against COVID-19. Second, our network of manufacturers are based across countries around the world with manufacturing facilities, capacities, and expertise, which are ready to be deployed when vaccines are available for COVID-19. Third, and most importantly, we continue to manufacture and supply other life-saving vaccines which are critical for global public health. Dr. Tedros, the co-hosts, Your Excellencies, we appreciate the opportunity to serve the global community with this call to action. And we leave you with the statement, leave no one behind. Thank you.
Leave no one behind. Thank you, Dr. Prasad. Namaste. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Thank you. So we have listened to our political leaders, agency leaders, business leaders, and now I will move into our other speakers. 2 of them are special envoys, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and also Sir Andrew Whitty. So I will start with Ngozi. My sister, you have the floor, and congratulations, and thank you also for accepting our challenge to be a special envoy for this very, very important initiative, ACT and Accelerate. Thank you. Ngozi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Tedros. Thank you for your leadership under these difficult times. Thank you, Your Excellencies, for coming together on this global endeavor. I won't say much except to say it's an honor to accept this task, to serve the global common good, and to act as a bridge to the developing world, especially to my continent, Africa. Equity, access, and affordability are the key tenets of our efforts and should remain the key tenets. We must all come together and work to achieve all this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ngozi. Thank you so much indeed. And Ngozi is also selected as special envoy by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa to lead the COVID response event in Africa, and she will act as a bridge between Africa and this initiative, and that will be a very, very important role. So having said that, now I'll move to Sir Andrew Whitty, former CEO of GSK, and now our special envoy. You have the floor, and thank you so much for accepting to really lead this effort. Thank you.
Dr. Tedros, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm humbled to have been asked to undertake this role to support this unprecedented coalition. And all I want to say simply today is I'm absolutely committed to working with all of the partners to build on all of the work that's been done already, to avoid duplicating work, to help catalyze the fantastic efforts that have already been undertaken with a mission to achieve great equitable access to the various tools that we know we need to deal with this pandemic. Please count on me for open-minded, energetic support and engagement, and I simply ask in return for your support and collaboration in helping us to work forward to bring this to an end as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Andrew Whitty. So we're coming to the end of our launch. Thank you so much to all our political leaders who have given your support and for your leadership. And thank you also to our agency leaders, to our business leaders, and also to our envoys. This is everybody's business, as you said, and we will do everything to make this initiative a success as partners. And I would also like to end this launch by reminding you that May 4th will be the pledging event that will be hosted by European Commission, and you have already heard from President Ursula von der Leyen and other participants of this launch, and we hope to see you all then on May 14 to make the pledging event a success. So thank you so much again from our side, and united we can defeat this virus, and we have to fight it in unison. Thank you so much again. May 4. Again, sorry, I think I said May 14. The pledging event is May 4. And let's join the European Commission and President Ursula von der Leyen to make this pledging event a success. May 4 is the date. Thank you.